This is your First Alert Weather Breakdown, a deep dive into how weather works with meteorologist Evan Thomason.
Well, come on. It is First Alert Weather Breakdown time. I am here. I'm meteorologist Evan Thomason. Welcome on to the stream. It is 10:30 on a Friday. How about it? We are one step away from the weekend here. Again, I'm meteorologist Evan Thomason. Thank you very much for joining us on the day before the weekend. Hey, we're getting close to fall in a way, you could say. Well, not only that, also tropic season's starting to ramp up. Typical stat I like to use is about 2/3 of hurricanes usually happen between August 20th and October 10th. So we've just started that stretch. We'll be taking a look at the tropics here in just a little bit, but we're getting closer into fall, not just because we're getting further and further into the tropic season now, but also because we might have a taste of fall coming next week. And hey, along with that, college football is returning. High school football is returning back into the Arklatex. It's going to be so much fun to do. For those of you who have been with me since last year when we had this First Alert Weather Breakdown through your September and October seasons in particular, or your September and October months in particular, we talked a lot about your sports forecast. That was kind of the thing we did every single Friday. And guess what? That will be coming back next week. Next Friday. That's what you can look forward to. Then we've enjoyed all these regional travel forecasts here for Friday. And then again, that is still on the rundown here for the day today. But this is pretty much the last Friday we have with it for a while because, again, LSU, Arkansas, also we're do stuff on NSU, Northwestern State, all of our local high school teams. We get a game of the week. Overtime's cooking up here in the Arklatex. We will have forecasts for all those football events in different locations around the region here for 2 Saturdays from now coming up next Friday. Technically, there are a few college football games actually this weekend for tomorrow that are starting up, but it's only for a select few. Most teams overall start 2 Saturdays from now on the last weekend of August, which is kind of weird this year in that it's also Labor Day weekend next weekend as well, which is Monday, September 1st. So the first possible day Labor Day could be is what it is positioned as essentially here for 2 weekends from now, essentially. So we're going to give you first alert about the football forecast in store. I am ready. I've also done fantasy football drafts as well. Ready for the season to get kicked up here and get it into gear. But, hey, we're enjoying that. We're also enjoying a taste of fall coming next work week on our local forecast that we will get to here right now. All right, so welcome on to our Mattress Plus Sky Cam here for you as a live look on some beautiful blue skies and sunshine. Overall, the memo for the day today is clearing up the rain, sweeping it away. We're going to enjoy a beautiful weekend for you on tap, which is going to be phenomenal as I have a little mini case of the hiccups. If you're wondering, like, if I keep, it's not a gag, but essentially got a little mini hiccups for some reason with me right now. Anyways, we'll roll with the punches and keep going here for your Friday. Texarkana Window World Skycam, same thing. Not a cloud in the sky. I will say, when we looked at these cameras yesterday, we still saw some clouds around. That gave us some chances of storms that we did see around, especially areas of Shreveport here yesterday, and certainly the past 2 days. But thankfully, most of that rain is gone in for areas along and north of I-20. But guess what? It is not completely gone. We'll show you that radar here in just a little bit to see where we can expect showers here later on today. All right, so for the planner here for the day today, I know this doesn't count, I guess, too much more. But certainly we have temperatures around the 80s here with lots of sunshine here for your day planner. Here for your Friday. So here for the day today, just a spotty chance of a storm mainly found in the southern half of the Arklatex here for your Friday. But everybody's going to be completely drying up in time for Saturday. And those dry conditions are also going to roll into your Sunday in the process as well. So don't have to worry about any rain hitting any of your weekend plans. But next week could be rainy, although that does come with some good news because it keeps things around here comfortable in the temperature department. In fact, we're expected to have a more powerful cold front for you next week than what just hit us as well. We'll show you just how cool it's going to get in a little bit. But I will say, on a typical hot summer day in the Arklatex, these actual temperatures would usually be in the upper 80s and lower 90s right about now. But for now, they are still holding firm in the low to mid 80s here for the most part. 85 in Marshall, 84 in Texarkana, 81 in Shreveport. Coolest spot is at Mansfield, maybe because Mansfield has been soaked this morning with nothing but heavy rain. We'll get again to that radar picture here in just a second, but they're chilling with 79 degrees, mainly because of how much it has rained on top of them. We do have a feels like temperature of 90 in Marshall, 88 in Texarkana, 84 in Shreveport. Again, it's still going to be hot here for the day today, but thankfully, our humidity is going way down low. Let's explain something to you on the big picture of things. High pressure. That is off to our west here. Up and around goes the jet stream, and we have winds coming out of the north, circulating around this high pressure, going into the Arklatex. So we're getting winds out of the north here for the day today, which anytime we get winds out of the north, usually getting that cooler air a little bit for the most part. I will say for the weekend we're heating things up, but I would pertain this mainly to those humidity levels. The humidity levels is the best thing to look at for, because Friday is the first day where we have lower humidity in store. And guess what? That is going to be something that looks to continue. Check out the winds into the weekend. Guess where they're coming from? Still coming out of the north. High pressure systems drying us out here briefly before. We do have a cold front coming through here for next week. And guess where the winds are still coming out of? The north, all the way through Wednesday. So essentially, for the next week or so, we have winds coming out of the north, which is essentially putting a cap and cutting off our entire supply of getting any bits of Gulf humidity into the Arklatex. So that keeps that humidity level low, keeps it a little more unsummer-like, essentially, here for the day today. All right, so, or not only for the day today, but also for the next week or so overall. So checking out those high temperatures now, 95 in Shreveport, 96 in Texarkana. Again, specifically in Shreveport, high temperatures are expected to ramp up, mainly because we don't have the chance for storms here for this afternoon at all. Now, meanwhile, we still have highs only getting into the upper 80s towards Nacogdoches and Natchitoches here for this afternoon. I know my face is covering it, but it is a high of 89, essentially for Natchitoches here for the day today. Mainly with dealing with a couple more clouds around, dealing with more chances for storms here, just for one more day today for areas like Natchitoches before everybody catches in on that sunshine here for the weekend. And that weekend sunshine, again, is going to help those temperatures to continue to ramp up. Highs around 99, in fact, for Sunday. Now, anytime you would have highs stuck in the upper 90s, especially for a long period of time, you would usually get heat advisories, and we'd usually be talking about issues with heat over the next couple of days. And we still are. It still means that the heat is getting up, and those temperatures are getting hot, up to 99 degrees. But as I just discussed, the humidity is so much lower than a typical summer day. Check this out. On a normal summer day, just so you know, on a typical summer week, you would usually have that line graph stuck in the red. Stuck there. Not even trying to go down at all. But starting today, going into Saturday and Sunday, and even going into next week, I would ignore Thursday, which is where that line goes all the way down into the comfortable zone. I think that's broken. But anyways, the point is, next 6 days, we maintain the muggy meter at more of a comfortable place. I know it says muggy, but what that essentially means is, especially since we've been in the oppressive humidity category for so long, when we drop that into the muggy category, it's going to feel just overall a lot more comfortable than what we're used to feeling. And that's going to be in store here for the weekend. So essentially, it feels like temperatures are still going to be around 105, a little bit of humidity around for the weekend, but not an oppressive amount to where we should have extreme heat levels here for this coming weekend and into next week. But we do want to keep you first alert that there is a cool down of our actual temperatures on the way here next week. Check this out. Overall, most of the country is going to have their first taste of fall heading into the last week of August. That does include us. Our mornings are essentially going to be limited into the 60s potentially here. We'll say there's a few areas looking to get into the lower 70s here for the mornings, but overall the point is we are getting cooler. That starts after Monday. It looks like Monday it brings us another hot day. I'm expecting still mostly highs in the 90s for that day, and then the cold front keeps on coming through. And I will say the future tracks are playing around with the temperatures a lot. They're fluctuating a little bit, but that cold front should be rolling at least far enough south to include the Arklatex in those cooler temperatures here starting on Tuesday and continuing through a good portion of next work week. Looks like we might slightly increase the temperatures back up into Thursday and Friday, but at least for Tuesday and Wednesday, we're having below average temperatures around here with highs only in the 80s, which is going to be great. Be fantastic to enjoy. Now, as you saw with that cold front around, though, in place, since that cold front's stuck in place in the Arklatex, guess what that means? Chances for storms here. That cold front is going to be carrying storms with it, and especially because it's going to be stuck in the Arklatex next week, we essentially have storms stuck in the Arklatex here for a good portion of next work week coming up here for you. All right, first alert Doppler radar. 90% of this radar here throughout the day today has been completely dry, but the problem is the 10% that has been rained on has gotten lots and lots of storms with it. Now, to be fair, the rain is finally moving. I will say for most of the morning show and for most of the early morning, the rain was here where my blue arrow is, in DeSoto Parish and also in Red River Parish. Finally, we've gotten the rain out of most of that area, and it's starting to finally drift a little bit southward. So now it's rolling into areas of Nacogdoches here now, areas on the southern end of Shelby County, just off to the southern end of Center. Let's get a good, got a good downpour on the western edge. That is of Natchitoches Parish. This is about to hit Pleasant Hill in the next couple minutes as well. Looks like this whole line, just based on the latest future tracks I'm seeing, it should be dwindling southward. So again, it kind of formed and stuck around Mansfield and Coshada here for the early morning hours. But the point is, it stayed south of I-20, and it's continuing to move nowhere but southward. So areas of Natchitoches could still form more storms later on today, but we should limit the actual storm coverage into essentially just the southern edge of the Arklatex here for the rest of your Friday, while the rest of us hang around with nothing but sunshine. Let's take a look at the latest future track that's come out to us here from the graph. And again, it shows just the formation of a couple storms, mainly down towards the Alexandria area, but some of them could reach technically into the southern edges of Nacogdoches County and also Natchitoches Parish. The rest of us, though, it's a nice sunny Friday here for us, which is going to be great to enjoy. Then into Saturday, we're all hanging around with the sunshine. Same thing continues into your Sunday. Again, a beautiful weekend for you. A little bit of some passing clouds potentially, but nothing should be in the way of rain until Monday, at the very least, if not Tuesday. You can kind of see some rain trickling on into Oklahoma there Monday morning. And that's eventually going to come south and east and affect areas of the Arklatex. You kind of see that in the long-range future track here. Again, through the weekend, nice and dry, no rain issues. But then once we hop into next week, that's when rain becomes a little bit of a problem. Looks like we could have some showers in the northern half of the Arklatex here Monday. And then Tuesday, it's going to look to fill probably most of the region for us then. And that'll bring in more persistent rounds of rain that look to continue on into Wednesday, maybe even Thursday in the process too. So next week's a very rainy week, but again, it keeps things cooler in the process as well, which is going to be phenomenal. Highs again mostly staying in the upper 80s here starting on Tuesday and heading into a good portion of next week. But for the weekend, because we have the sunshine out, the sunshine itself is heating us up. So we've gone from highs in the lower 90s yesterday to highs essentially increasing by like 2 degrees each day, 2-3 degrees each day. So highs around 95 today for Friday, and then up to 99 in time for Sunday. Highs stay in the upper 90s here for Monday, and then drop for a good bit. But here for the weekend, most of the heat comes from, again, the abundant sunshine. So again, just reiterating to you one more time, no rain, neither Saturday nor Sunday, I should say. All right, before the 7-day forecast, we got your first alert eye on the tropics, which is continuing to stay busy. I mentioned heading into this forecast that it is the busiest time of the year for the tropic season, and we're making sure nothing gets in the Gulf. We've had, so far in the Gulf this entire year, I believe, we've had, I think somewhere around 3 to 4, maybe even 5 areas of interest, but only one of them has turned into an actual storm. We had Barry. Very briefly, people probably don't even remember this. We had Barry very briefly in the southern edge of the Gulf of Mexico that essentially hit Mexico just very quickly, almost nearly a day after it technically formed down there. Besides that, we haven't had a single named storm in the Gulf. Good. Let's keep it that way. Here is, you look at your tropical development map here. Aaron is pretty much done. Aaron is a Cat 1 hurricane as of right now, but it's about to become kind of assimilated with the natural flow, which means it's going to become an extratropical storm, which essentially just means it's essentially floating away into the synoptic scale of things. And I realize I keep using scientific terms to discuss things. Essentially, what it means is Aaron is gone, is moving eastward, away towards essentially Europe. It's going to just deliver them some rain showers here in the next couple days. But its impact, for the most part, is pretty much done with here for the United States. I think there's a little bit of some rip current issues up towards Massachusetts, maybe in the northeast still. But overall, we're pretty much done with Aaron's impact to the United States. Now, this is the area of interest map behind it. We have 3 areas of interest technically. That yellow X is pretty much done with. It had a chance for formation late last night and also yesterday, but now it is pretty much done for. That is going to be not anything. All right, we do have an area of interest, though, with a 90% chance of formation. If you look at where it's going to form and where it's going to go, though, it's away from the United States. That's the point. This is going to be farther away than Aaron was. This is going to curl up straight and then go up to the northeast, not even hitting any United States land. To be fair, the only thing this was impact maybe is Bermuda, which is right around here. But the point is, it makes no U.S. contact. Now, my most concern is this last area of interest I have not discussed. To be fair, unlike that 90% chance of formation with an area of interest, this only has a 50% chance of forming. It's got a 50-50 call. In fact, the National Hurricane Center even downgraded it. It was at 60% chance as of early this morning. National Hurricane Center downgraded its chances for formation for a 50-50 call now. And this is the system we're going to be watching, mainly because of where the spaghetti models have this system going, which is essentially just due westward into the Caribbean Sea. And the Caribbean Sea is essentially a gateway to the Gulf. You can kind of see the connection there. Anything that goes through the Caribbean can sometimes end up being pushed into the Gulf itself if it can survive. Now, keep in mind, again, it's only got a 50-50 call of forming, and some of the weather models are having this completely disintegrate as it tries to reach the Caribbean Sea there. But regardless, we will keep you first alert. Still an area of interest, still an area of circulation. This would be in the Caribbean Sea next week. Once we see it in the Caribbean Sea, first of all, it might not even form in the Caribbean Sea, because, again, it's only got a 50-50 call as of right now. But if it does, that's when our attention span will essentially ramp up into that area. All right, 7-day forecast here for you. 95 here today, 99 on Sunday, 97 on Monday. Then we turn the rain on. That cools us off a lot here for Tuesday and Wednesday. Highs in the upper 80s. Lows around the lower 70s and upper 60s around the region here for a good portion of next week. Highs could get back up to 91 briefly on Thursday. But overall, looks like even the 12-day forecast appears to be very rainy, which unfortunately could get some rain into Labor Day weekend. Still too soon to call that as of right now, but I will say for the moment, things for the long-term forecast are looking very rainy past the next 3 days. So keep yourself weather aware, and we will keep you first alert about that heading into next week. But hey, I guess that's a next week problem. Let's enjoy a beautiful weekend still in store before rain comes. And even when rain comes again, I feel like there's going to be so many of you at least enjoying the cooler than average temperatures around the Arklatex. It'll be good. All right, coming up next, we have a look at your regional travel forecast for you coming up. That's where we go over spots like Dallas, New Orleans. If you happen to be traveling anywhere around the Arklatex, here for a good road trip, and you're always curious about what the weather is around us, we'll have more about that in store coming up next. Welcome back to the First Alert Weather Breakdown. Thank you very much for joining us again. Let's go straight into our topic here for the day today, our exclusive content that we do have going on here for you. We do have, oh, that's the wrong button. Hey, I'm a one-man show back here, so we're going to run this. We're running this by. We're running this by here for the day today. Also, we've got to go over this quickly. We do have something coming up at 11 o'clock for those of you trying to stay on the live stream. I won't spoil any surprises, but essentially, we got to get rolling here with this regional travel forecast here for you. Here's the big picture of what's happening currently at this time frame. Lots of storms billowing, it looks like, on the southern Gulf Coast, right around Houston and New Orleans. Essentially, the storm coverage that's hitting the southern half of the Arklatex here for the day today is hitting more spots like towards Alexandria, Houston, and New Orleans here, essentially, for this afternoon. You can see that a little bit better on our Doppler radar. It's a little bit of a mess if you're trying to bow out in the Gulf, but essentially most of the storm coverage is staying down towards Lake Charles, Houston, and it's going to be hitting areas a little more around Alexandria once we get the heat of the afternoon, spreading these storms out a lot more. And you'll see that in the long-range future track here for you. Some of the storms getting into central Louisiana. Also, plenty of storms there for Houston and New Orleans here for Friday. Then, as we head on into the weekend here, looks like more of the same. Like rain coverage kind of stays along the Gulf Coast, it looks like, for Saturday. Meanwhile, Dallas, Little Rock, most of Mississippi looking fairly dry here. Fortunately, Sunday brings another little Gulf Coast chance of storms for us then, but most of our inland locations around us are looking pretty dry until next week happens. This is when the cold front comes on in, and that will give chances of storms around us for Dallas and Little Rock heading into early next week. But for the short term, as we kind of went over quickly, everything looks dry here as long as you are not on the Gulf Coast. So New Orleans and Houston, it might be a rainy weekend out towards you guys. Meanwhile, temperatures mostly in the 80s here for a moment. Here for the rest of your Friday, we got chances of storms around, go figure, our Gulf Coast little areas that we just tracked out around New Orleans and Houston. Again, if you're anywhere inland, plenty of sunshine. Dallas, Little Rock, Monroe, Jackson, and I'm expecting this to be pretty much copy and paste into your Saturday. Maybe Houston gets a little bit of a break from the rain, but overall still more storms there for New Orleans. Could ramp up the temperatures, though, in Dallas. Highs almost to 100 degrees there. It looks like we're continuing to ramp up temperatures even more here for a few of us into your Sunday. Maybe a little more sunshine, trying to get into the picture a little more there for New Orleans and Houston. So essentially, if you're on the Gulf Coast, especially here for Friday and Saturday, New Orleans and Houston, going to be pretty rainy. The rest of us hanging around with a dry Friday and Saturday, but especially if you're in Dallas, Little Rock, or out towards Mississippi, it is a completely dry weekend there. It's a completely dry weekend here, also in the Arklatex. Thank you very much for joining us on the First Alert Weather Breakdown. Our football forecast will be back next Friday. Stay tuned for that. We'll be back here for this episode of First Alert Weather Breakdown on Monday at 10:30. I'm not sure who's going to host yet. I think there's a little bit of mixing around with the weather schedule here next week. Regardless, we will have a good episode, obviously, back on for you on the First Alert Weather Breakdown Monday at 10:30. As for me, as for you, wrong pronoun, have a great rest of your weekend. Here coming on up. Enjoy the sunshine. Enjoy the heat. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again Monday at 10:30. We'll see you then on the live stream, whatever platform you're watching on. Again, have a good one. See you later.